With us, we have Darrell Stern from, you're in America, aren't you, Darrell?
Yes, I am here. It is 4 a.m. in Arizona, the Valley of the Sun, USA, and I am here with you live streaming in London. This is such a thrill.
Well, if you wake up at 4 a.m. or showing up at 4 a.m. looking that good, then showing up in the normal time, I imagine you look even better, Darrell. So good on you. Well done.
Exactly.
So,
Good day.
yeah,
Good.
Darrell, you have a background in acting and theatrics and so forth. Why don't you give us a little bit of your background there? And
Well, sure, most definitely. So, well, first off, welcome. I'm so pleased. I've been waiting for the London event of the Best You Expo all year. We started off back in we did Miami and Dallas and LA, and now we're finally coming to London. And in 2016, when Snapchat blew up, I got in touch with a lot of the big influencers on Snapchat, and they were having an event in London at a place called the Magic Roundabout, which is you know where that is? Yes. Okay. So they invited me to sponsor this event called Snap Happen, which was a global party for all of the young kids on Snapchat that were blowing up Snapchat. So I actually got a ticket round trip to London, the furthest I've ever been away from home, 5,500 miles, from Denver, Colorado, where I was living at the time. And I just loved it. I absolutely fell in love with London. One of my favorite adventures there was to go to the Tower of London. And, the plaque on the front of the Tower of London says 1066. And as Americans, there's nothing 1,000 years old here. Do you understand? Like we don't see things that are other than the Grand Canyon, which is probably, which is near here where I live, and that's tens of thousands of years old, God knows. But it was just fascinating to see, the depth and scope of humanity just by being in London and seeing architecture that is from the space age, and then next to it, a church where the first English dictionary was developed, like right next to each other. I remember that on the tour that I took. So I'm so glad to be here. So yes, I grew up in the theater. I was a child actor growing up. There was a show on ABC called Schoolhouse Rock, which are little cartoons that teach kids about all kinds of things, grammar and English and spelling. And they're quite, famous here in the US. And in 1983, I got the role of Scooter Computer on these new cartoons called Scooter Computer and Mr. Chips, this was 1983. We're going back to the Commodore 64 now, the Atari 400. Like, this was introducing kids to what a computer can do. So from there, I just went on in my adventure in theater. And by the time I was in 8th grade, I took to playwriting and wanting to write dramatic copy, write plays. And I did that. And I was a runner-up in the state New Jersey Young Playwrights Festival. And then the next year, I won the National Young Playwrights Festival. So I'll continue my story, my talk about how theater has influenced my life and how everything has come back into it. But that's just a little bit of a start of, I'm an actor and a theater director and even a stand-up comedian and a singer and musicals and you name it. I've done it all.
That's awesome. Hugh, I mean, have you got any acting experience? I mean, this is so far off my comfort zone.
Well, my amateur dramatics go back to my teenage years, and I grew up here in Ireland, Darrell, and very, very interested about the history and stuff as well, because it's embedded in me too. But in rural Ireland, where I grew up, we have a strong community sense, and we have sport actually is the hub of what we do community wise all across Ireland, and we have a charitable or an amateur organization called the GAA, which is basically how it's our Gaelic games is what we do, but around that we have so many other social activities. So I was involved in a youth choir, we would have sang in competitions, and amateur youth dramatics as well. So we would have had small sketches, 15-20 minutes, and that led in latter years to being involved in acting in lots of other projects as well. I acted on mostly comedies, I have to say. So I would have what they might describe as the straight guy against the idiot or the comedian in group, but I absolutely love it. It's great. And I do know as well that one of the things that has intrigued me over the years, and I know we mentioned, and we're going to be talking about, the Digital Jedi in a few minutes, but I can recall as a youngster, growing up in the 70s, sitting in the theater to watch the first Star Wars movie, and how story writing. This is the one thing that intrigues me now about story writers, whether they're playwrights or television dramas or movies or whatever the case might be, is the whole thought process. The depth of what goes into creating a story has to be incredible, because to get you the people who are either sitting on their sofa at home or sitting in the auditorium or sitting in the movie theater following the story, imagine it playing out in their head, and it must be the ultimate skill of story writers, is to be able to know that the people are being brought along with them, Darrell. So I've got to say, I take my hat off to the writers who are usually the unsung heroes, the people, we wow at the Daniel Craigs, we wow at the Liam Neesons of this world, we wow at Tom Cruise's, Julia Roberts, or whoever it is, and I'm thinking, I'm rhyming off the older actors here. There's probably a lot of newer actors as well, but we wow at what they do when they deliver the story. But it's how the story that was wrote, and I can recall one time I acted in one of my first full 90-minute plays, and I remember reading the script and thinking there's something in this script, but not getting the story until we started to bring it to life and started to act it and started to put the moments. So it's only then that you bring the writer's real skill to life, is when the actors actually get embedded in making these things happen, So I'm in awe, Darrell, of writers of any description, because they have to have such a creative genius, and often that genius is not recognized. So I say, when I look and see that you were actually winning awards when you were still as far back as school, just incredible,
Well, sure. Thank you very much. I'll tell you something else that happened that was a big influence on me. Is I went to the Globe Theater, which, as you guys probably know, but I'll talk to my American friends for a minute, is where Shakespeare wrote his plays. Now, it's a replica. It's not in the it's very close to the actual location of where it was. But the banners around the theater said, Shakespeare, I believe it's 400 or 600 years old, for somewhere in there, for 400 years.
Over 400 years, yeah.
400 years, right? So I looked at that and I said, what if your marketing and your message would still be here 400 years from now? What if we crafted it so well, so poetically, using even iambic pentameter, using drama and knowing when to pause in the drama of our YouTube channel, of our Facebook posts, and the poetry of what we write, to move people emotionally. What if it was so well done? And that's what I strive to create in my marketing agency, is marketing that's so well done that it will hit people in the heart, but also be created in such a way that it will span the test of time, that it hits universal truths that'll be with us long after we're not here, and still be out on YouTube and all of that kind of stuff, streaming all over the world.
Yeah. Very good. Well, listen, I'm going to say we shouldn't be taking any more of your time. It's great to just get a depth of who you are, but I think at this stage we'll pass it over to you to deliver your message more poetically than we could ever do. So we leave it to you, Darrell, to deliver your presentation for us today.
Well, sure, and I'll bring you guys back after, and we could do some questions and all that. Okay.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Super cool. Thank you, guys. And I'm so honored again to be speaking to everyone in the UK and all around the world. So my name is Darrell Stern. I'm known around the world as the Digital Marketing Jedi. When I was 4 years old, I went over to my father. I couldn't really read or write so well yet. And I said, grab a piece of paper and a pen. I am going to dictate to you the story of Peter Rabbit, starring me in my bunny ears and my bunny pajamas, as a complete one-man show. My father's looking at me like, what? So he grabbed the pen and the piece of paper, and I proceeded to tell him and literally from memory dictate the entire show of the story of Peter Rabbit, which I know is an English story, and it's one of my favorite storybooks. And my parents used to go nuts every night. I would ask them to read me a story, But from that early age, I realized that creating theater was what I really loved to do, to move people emotionally, to tell a great story, to do a great performance. So as I was growing up, theater was my life. I was, as I mentioned before, the voice of Scooter Computer on Schoolhouse Rock. In 8th grade, I was in the workshop for a Broadway production called Smile. And that was written by Howard Ashman, the great Howard Ashman, and it was sung by Jodie Benson. Howard Ashman went on to write The Little Mermaid, the Disney movie that came out in 1989. And Jodie Benson, who I got to work with, fabulous actress and singer, was the voice of The Little Mermaid. In college, I wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote plays. I read Shakespeare and Tennessee Williams and all of the great playwrights of all time. Tom Stoppard is one of my favorite. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead. If you haven't ever seen a production of that or read that play, it's just absolutely brilliant. Then, right after college in 1994, I had won all of these awards. I was on Scooter Computer. I was, singing on Broadway, all of this stuff. And the next year, I was selling computers at Radio Shack. What happened? I grew up a star, right? Everything I touched turned to gold. I'm a playwright. I wrote one play and it won the State Young Playwrights Festival. I wrote another play and I was such a talented kid and everybody's telling me I'm brilliant. And all of a sudden, I didn't understand what to do. Now, in 1994, we didn't have social media. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have any of this, networking or any of this kind of stuff. So I didn't know how to market my plays, how to get out there and be seen and be heard. So my mom, God bless her soul, told me, you're going to graduate school and you're going to get a master's degree in communications. I said, okay, Mom, that's what I'll do. So from 95 to 97, I was studying television and nonverbal communication and all kinds of different communication aspects on the graduate level. Right then, when I got my degree in 1997, this was a crucial year, a crossroads year, because there were little floppy disks at the computer store. Back then we had CompUSA all over America, where they sold the big giant PC computers that we used to use. And it said HTML, the World Wide Web. Make a website. Now, having been Scooter Computer, I had an Atari 400. I got a computer basic cartridge when I was like 13 years old. I learned how to code some, and I said, oh my gosh, this is it. What can this do? Our imaginations just lit up. What could this thing do? This internet, this extension of our human consciousness. So I went backstage. I became a director of sorts. I learned how to code. I learned how to build websites. I worked in a marketing department of a company called SyncSort, who created software way back in 2000 to 2002. But there was something wrong. I noticed that a lot of big advertising firms were charging a lot of money for building websites. And I saw that that was entirely unethical. So I decided in 2003, that's when my first business launched that I still run today, to launch the world's first ethical website design and development business. So again, I put the theater aside. This is what I was going to do. I was going to make websites for companies. Over the next 15 years, something amazing happened. The internet sped up and technology got faster and faster. And all of a sudden in 2005, I was seeing some posts about Macromedia Flash and alpha channels on video. And the idea that we could now stream video and something called YouTube, which some of you might be watching right now. Well, years after that, I was living in Denver and I'm working with a client and we're talking about the way that she's going to do her videos, how she's going to stand, how she's going to speak, where she's going to pause, where she's going to emote her videos. And she said to me, this is great, Darrell. I need a theater director for my marketing. Wait a minute. I'm not a theater director. I haven't done that in 20 years. What are you talking about? And then another gentleman, I'm writing a blog, as he would say, like in his voice, in his character. And he's reading it as I'm writing it. And he's saying, how are you doing that? How are you becoming me? You're writing this as if I was talking. And I said, well, I'm an actor. So life kind of derails us. I lost my father just before I turned 25. My mom passed away of ovarian cancer way back in 2002. And life seems to derail you, right? We get off track. We do all kinds of different things. But my father told me this. He was a philosophy professor at Kane University in New Jersey for many, many, many years. And he told me, you always have prosperity in you. Now, he didn't use the term influence at the time, but I'll add on to that because that's the hottest term today. There is influence in you, and you are always prosperous because there are certain things that no force in the universe can take away from you. Nothing can possibly take this away from you, which are your talents and your gifts, right? And what your abilities are, your education. So I'm here to tell you today that you, all of you across the UK, Ireland, Scotland, everybody over there in the UK, and everybody else watching me stream today, this morning, are a gift to the world, and the world needs your gifts. What you can teach, what you know, and what you can demonstrate that you might take for granted. Well, doesn't everybody know about this? Doesn't everybody know how to do what I do? I mean, I'm not really worth that much. I just know how to do these things. I mean, I don't know. That's not really all that great, is it? Yes, it is. Everything about you that you know how to do, there is someone out there in the world that doesn't know how to do that thing. So let's go to 2016. All of a sudden, this app lights up called Snapchat, and everybody's on Snapchat. And I met Virginia Salas Castillo, who's hopefully watching today. She's over there in England. She's one of the top influencers in the world, and she's a dear friend of mine. And she invited me to sponsor an event in London called Snap Happen, which was a global party for all of the influencers, all these young kids on Snapchat. Well, I did it. I got a ticket round trip. It only cost me $700 round trip to get from Denver, 5,500 miles away, to London. And I tell you, it was the most fantastic experience. Now, here's what I'm going to say and what I learned. These younger kids that were in their early 20s, some of them even younger than that, some of them going up to maybe 30 years old, they had something that the rest of us don't have. And that thing is simply their youth. What do I mean by that? I mean, they don't care. They don't have a care in the world. They are so passionate about just having fun, creating this content, singing, laughing, telling jokes, teaching people different things about social media. They just love what they do. They're tapping into their gifts and joy. So one of my main philosophies in digital marketing is, what if you could wake up every single day with the joy of knowing that you are truly a gift to the world? What if every day you woke up saying, oh my gosh, I haven't told them this story about me yet. I haven't taught them this lesson. I'm so excited to be here because the powers of the universe have put me here and I'm a gift to the world and I need to get out there and teach my gifts. Now we're going to get into the real part. Okay. I met a local auto mechanic in 2016. His name's Saul Reisman. Brilliant kid, living Wikipedia of fixing cars. I don't know if you've ever met anyone who's like a living Wikipedia of what they do. You mention something to them and they just know every part about it. So this kid knew everything about every type of car and truck ever made and all the different manufacturers. And he came to me and he said, I am a gift to the world. I want to be the #1 auto mechanic in all of Colorado and possibly even the world. And I want to be an influencer and known all over the world. So I said, okay, you're ready to get stern. That's my hashtag. Let's do it. First off, I made him a website with nearly 60 landing pages, one for each and every type of car that there is. Now, listen very carefully. What I call those is situational avatars. What is a situational avatar? That is a specific situation someone is in. Now, in playwriting, when I would develop a character, I would have a character sheet and I would write out how old the person was, what their religious background was, whether they were dating or single or not, what their habits were, even what their allergies were, right before I would write a character. This is kind of like the same thing. There are lots of different features to your business. And a lot of us keep talking about the features of our business, right? How long it takes or what size it is or this or that or what the features are. I don't care about the features. I care about the benefit to me. Tell me and give me hope that you can fix something in my heart that I've been searching for to find, that I want to stop feeling, or I want to stop having in my life, that I just can't take anymore, that I'm frustrated with, that I'm angry with. So I'm going to teach you a little bit about how to write an amazing, emotionally driven inbound marketing or landing page script. I want you to get out your pens and papers, get out your notepads on your thing. I'll pause the video for a minute and then I'll continue. Okay, good. Got you a second to do that. Here we go. The first sentence in a really great stern-storming landing page script is, are you frustrated? Are you angry? Are you scared? The second line is, do you hope? Do you wish? The next line is what we call the need statement, which is, you know that if you don't do this, nothing's going to happen, right? You know you need to change. This is the statement where you are bold and you punch them in the gut, as I call it, right? As they would say back in New Jersey, hey, how you doing, right? You punch them in the gut and you tell people, look, do you want to sit there and not do anything about this, or do you want to change? The last statement is the what if statement. The what if statement is where you could turn on your wisdom and paint a picture of their future, not just the service you're going to provide, but how they are going to be able to live after that. Now, you may think, I mean, I'm kind of know my benefits of my business, I guess, right? Isn't it this? Go to your clients, go to the people that you've worked with and ask them, how is your life now different than when I started working with you? And their answer might surprise you. Your value is always greater than you know. Okay, back. Marketing is two things: giving people hope, then proving that you can do it. So back to my auto mechanic. I'm down at his shop every Wednesday morning at 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. And I bring my phone with a little clip-on mic, a little lavalier mic, and I say, look, this is what we're going to do. We are going to relentlessly create stories of you demonstrating what you do, right? Just doing what you are doing, right? Showing people, letting people behind the scenes, letting people see what you know. So we would go around his shop and we would look at all these different cars, Bentleys, Jeeps, Maseratis, Lamborghinis. I mean, we had luxury cars. We had a classic 1966 Rolls Royce with the steering wheel on your side of the road. You know what I'm talking about? But all you guys over there in the UK. So relentlessly every week, he would tell these great stories and he would give this great advice and he would be so honest about this auto repair. So the secret then is that I take those videos, I super optimize them on YouTube, which is the second largest search engine in the world. And then I transcribed them. Now, remember my Shakespeare example, right? Where I'm talking about the poetry of you, like all the words and all the content that are in you. I am a content extractor, meaning that when you go stern storming, I'm going to pull from you all of the content that's in you and then put it on stage, right? So I transcribed these videos and then I did something magical that most people take for granted. We're going to take a little time machine back to 1998. Ready? There we go. 1998. This guy in Belgium, I believe it was Belgium, creates this thing called CERN, C-E-R-N, and this thing called a web browser. And he figures out, and what he wanted to do was be able to send text really fast through a set of rules to another computer program that would unpack those instructions and display the documents, okay? Meaning he would send it through a hypertext transfer protocol, HTTP. You with me? You listening? You getting this? And mark that text up with something that could be read as paragraphs and bolded statements and all of that, called HTML, which is simply hypertext markup language, kind of like your English teacher would mark up your English paper with P symbols and where the period should be and correct your punctuation and all of those kind of things. All right. The other thing that he wanted to do was create links. Now you're clicking on links every day. It's subconscious to us now. We don't even realize what the miracle of this actually is, right? Let me take you back to 1996. If I took Christopher's book out of the public library, right? And he mentioned Hugh's book, right? Okay. I had to go back to the public library, put that book back, take out the other book, hello, and open to that page. What if we could just click a link and go from document to document to document to document? What if I could go to this article, to this article, to this article, to this article? What if all the scientists and doctors in the world could cure disease by just sharing their ideas and their concepts and their documents and just have us go like this and snap right through it and click on links? Here's what I'm talking about. When I transcribed Saul's talk and in his videos, there were certain keywords. You might have heard this terminology before. Keywords or key phrases that he naturally uses over and over and over again. You are your own, guess what I'm going to say next? SEO, search engine optimization. Now listen, the words that you naturally use in your jargon around what you do, I then take those and scan for those and link them together. Now you might have heard the expression, he wrote the book on that, right? Like Christopher wrote the book on what he does. Hugh wrote the book about what he does, right? Okay. That's what we're doing relentlessly. That's the other part. Okay. People often ask me, well, how long does this take? At least the Americans do, because they're very impatient. How long does this take, Darrell Stern? How long does this take? And I say, how committed are you to your business? What? Huh? What do you mean? How committed are you to telling your story, to waking up every day in the joy of knowing that you are a gift to the world and relentlessly telling your story? Right? That's how long you market. Now, going back to Saul, the end of his story is that we take a look and said, I wanted to go further. I wanted to see how to reverse engineer how to go viral. And again, there is viral content in you. There is something in you that can go viral that is much needed in the world. So let me explain. At the intersection of lots of people are searching for an answer to something, such as COVID and the COVID vaccine currently this year and last year, right? And you have an answer to it. You have something that you can contribute to that global conversation in this extension of the human consciousness called the World Wide Web, right? At the intersection of that, where you lend your voice to something a lot of people are trying to solve, that goes viral. So I researched what kind of cars and trucks are popular in Denver, Colorado, and a lot of people drive Jeeps. I don't know if there's so many Jeeps in the UK. Are there? I don't know. There must be. But they're old army vehicles with the big wheels, and you can go off-road and drive through the snow and drive in the mountains in Colorado in them. So Jeeps have an engineering flaw that a lot of people know about called the Jeep death wobble, where instead of the wheels spinning forward, the wheels can go like this and oscillate and shake really bad, and you can go off the road and literally perish. Okay. So there's a lot of videos about this. There's a lot of people out there, mechanics and all kinds of other different kind of people trying to solve this issue and giving their solution to it. Well, I asked Saul, I said, do you know the answer to this? He said, yeah, I put $20,000 into fixing my own Jeep. I knew the exact problem with the suspension geometry. Chrysler Fiat has never released a tech bulletin that's in that fully. I mean, he just went right away, like telling me the whole story. And I said, viral content, right? Like, here we go. It's so exciting. So we did this video, 6.5 minutes long. It's still on YouTube. It has had, we released it in July of 2016. Over the past 4 years, it has had over 183,000 views. It has been liked over 1,300 times. No paid ads. This is all organic. And the engagement is through the roof. There's tons and tons of comments. But what are those comments? They're saying, thank you. This is a great explanation. Thank you for helping me. I never thought this could be the solution. Thank you. I really wanted to solve this problem in my life. You are a gift to the world. Now, here's the clincher. Are you ready? Okay, hold on. Are you ready? A couple months after this video comes out, Saul's on Facebook Messenger and he messages me and he says, that video has made us $20,000. A week or so later, he says, that video has made us about $80,000. I'm like, no way. Meanwhile, the views are going up and up and up. To date, he has made $7.89 million in Jeep repairs off of this one video. Some investors came along and allowed him to take over Autotech, which is now the single largest independently owned auto mechanic shop in the nation. My marketing makes businesses bigger, literally. So it goes beyond that. because Saul's voice was so out there, because he was thinking globally and not locally, and putting his what he knows and what he's doing at this little, car repair shop, right, in the middle of Englewood, Colorado, in this dirt road, right? Because he was brave enough to work with me and say, I want to show people what I'm doing. I want to take them behind the scenes. I want to demonstrate. Being as you are and how you are sells you right in the element of your gifts. So stern storming works like this. When I engage with you in a stern storming session, which you can go and get at the at sternmarketingacademy.com, you put a www in front of that. I've got a little promo code, the best you. It saves you 75% off. I mean, I just really want to help everybody, and I love working internationally, so you can go take a look at that. When you spend those 4 hours with me, I'm going to go back through your life. We're going to go all the way back to when you were very, very young, and I'm going to go to what can you remember the most, the first memory that you have. I remember my mom putting me on her 10-speed bike. There was a little fiberglass seat that we had, and I attached it the little belt. I don't even know if I had a helmet. This was 1972. We didn't have the big straps, the harnesses they have today. And we went whizzing around the neighborhood, and it was just so much joy. There are stories in you that can create influence. You are a gift to the world. So I invite you to be my new Peter Rabbit. I want you to be that story that I fall in love with, that story that I can't wait to help you put on stage, that I can help you dramatize, that I can teach you how to act out, that I can teach you how to pause at just the right moment and feel something on camera to move people emotionally through your landing pages, through your funnels, through your YouTube channel, through your articles on LinkedIn. This last year during COVID, our agency created over 1,000 videos and 14 online courses. And I actually traveled the country more in this pandemic than any other year in my life. I had my mask on. I stopped at every disinfectant station. It was amazing. Everything from Dr. Ruby, who teaches you how to cure your own cancer through nutrition, to Dr. Barbara, who teaches you how to get rid of the PTSD that you might have in your life from the abuse from your alcoholic family, to Danielle Morrow up in Denver, who teaches you how to live in bliss, to, remember, Crystal Richardson, who is streaming with us in Miami. I just filmed her course last night, and it was up till 9:30 at night, got home, slept a couple hours, and came over here at 4 in the morning to talk to you guys. There is gifts in you. I'll leave you with one other one. So I grew up in Edison, New Jersey. Thomas Alva Edison created the phonograph, okay? The phonograph, right, as we all know, recorded a moment in time, right? It recorded a voice. And then that disc could be copied and sent all around the world. Now, when everybody puts on their headphones and listens to the latest song by Beyonce, everybody is having that one singular soulful experience, but 1 billion people can be having those experiences at once. This is the miracle of the phonograph and Thomas Alva Edison, recorded media. Now I'm going to paint a dream for you, a dream of influence, where while you're speaking, while you're playing with your kids, while you're talking to your husband or your wife, or while you're out bowling or playing racquetball or whatever you guys like to do over there in England. Maybe you're at the pub. Is that what it is? That where you all go? I don't know. So that while you're doing those other things, people are learning from you, right? You are too much of a gift to the world to hold those gifts inside. Join me in a stern storming session, and I will pull from you those gifts that will make you create more profits and influence in your business than ever before. Thank you. I'm Darrell Stern, reporting live from the Valley of the Sun, Phoenix, Arizona, streaming worldwide all over the world. And God bless the Queen. God save the Queen. I love London. Thank you so much for having me. Let's bring the other hosts back in. We should do a little Q&A. You guys are fantastic.
Well, thank you, Darrell, and may I say you're fantastic. That was awesome, and 75% off. That's truly astonishing. I think humanity thanks you for your generosity. That's absolutely awesome. Could you repeat that website where they go and the promo code they use?
Sure. I'm going to put it in the comments on the streaming YouTube right now. It's www.sternmarketingacademy.com. And you guys can find me on LinkedIn, on Facebook, all over the internet. I'm Darrell, Darrell. I think it's down there. No, it's down in this corner. There it is. Darrell Stern. You just Google me. You'll find me somewhere on the internet, on Facebook or someplace. And just message me, send me a message. I want to help everyone understand how this internet marketing works, how to optimize a YouTube channel or do SEO on a blog or whatever it is that you're looking at. But here's the other thing that I ask people is, and I think you were talking about this before, Christopher, it's what turns your soul on. A lot of times people are talking about their business to you, and you can tell that they're not fully in that business, if that makes sense. They're not fully in it. They've thought of something that they kind of maybe want to do, and they just came up with the idea, but their soul isn't in it. And I ask you, for the true fulfillment of your own life's purpose, right? What if you could get to do that thing that you slay at, that you just are the best at every single day? That's our job as marketers, right? Is to allow you to get to do that thing, to help people using your gifts in that way that only you can do it as often as possible. And then you get to live your ultimate fulfilled life, which is you're helping people, which is what we all want to do, is serve.
Yeah, no, that's
so that raises an interesting, thought for me, Darrell, as I read. I've actually, whilst you were chatting there, I have to confess to be reading your Facebook profile and searching your LinkedIn and various different things. So getting a feel for the person, one of the things that particularly, maybe this is an Irishism or a Britishism or perhaps a Europeanism, I'm not entirely sure, but we have this old adage here that fortunately suppresses people's what I believe is potential to live that they were born to live, and that is that who does he think she is, or who does she think she is, or right. This thing, I think it stops people from finding where their magic lies. And I'm listening to you talking about that young car mechanic who was an encyclopedia, knew that he wanted to share a message, but you had to bring that out of him. So how would you speak to someone who thinks, I've got something I want to share, but who am I to be sharing that information?
Well, first off, if the first thing that you're going to accomplish when you get out there and really use your voice, the very, very first rule of it is you're going to piss a lot of people off. So get over it, because that's the first step, right? Your friends are going to be jealous because you're trying to do something more successful than they ever tried to do. Your parents are going to tell you, keep that day job, go back to college. You know what I'm saying? And the whole world's going to come crashing down when you get that crazy entrepreneurial idea, right? So here's, I'll give you an example. I once was talking to somebody, and I was frustrated because most of the people that I was talking to, didn't have a lot of money, of funds to put into it. And I was talking to Kevin Kneble, who's a worldwide speaker, and I told him about that frustration. And he said to me, and he's from New Jersey, like me, we're very blunt. He said, well, stop talking to broke people. Now, what I'm talking about is go to the other side of the street. Right? We hear all the people that are going to be seeing streaming for the next 3 days. I'm sure someone in our background told us what we couldn't do, right? What we can't do, what we shouldn't do, or who do you think you are to be so bold as to do that? Well, guess what? There's us on the other side of the street. So if you're feeling like that, come over to us, come over to the entrepreneurial groups, come over to us where we'll welcome you and we'll nurture your gifts. And that's it. Just go to the other side and knock on the other door of that club where the people are going to support you.
Yeah, you might well say then the old adage is, who are you not to? What influence could you be to someone? And again, one of the greatest TV shows in recent years certainly has flooded the airways across the world has been CSI, for now on well over a decade, maybe 15 years. But I often refer to the CSI effect whenever you get an opportunity to leave a positive DNA print on someone somewhere, like an impression in the world, like you talked about at the start of your conversation. Right. 500-600 years from now, is someone going to say, oh, this is a piece of literature that this person put together? Or way back in the years of something called the internet and something called YouTube, they left this video message for you. So every opportunity we get to interact with someone, I call it the big moment, like DNA, well, not CSI, when they touch the handle or they touch the gun or they do whatever they do, touch the cup, they leave that imprint. And listening to you, Darren or Darrell, today reminds me of getting that opportunity to leave that positive CSI imprint on so many people, and it's great to listen how you can bring it out of people that they forgot it was even buried so deep inside,
Well, I'll tell you this. My grandmother parents were French and English, so I am an eighth British. So there you go. So there you go. With they're talking about imprints and DNA, right? We're all a mixing pot of all different kinds of people and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, if we're gonna go into a big ethereal, I'm gonna go way out, big universal for you. What is your legacy, right? And how do you live on? You live as long as someone remembers you, right? After you're gone, you are still alive as long as someone remembers you. So it's just a crime going to your crime scene, crime scene investigation, thing. It's just a crime not to use your gifts. If you knew how to cure COVID and you were sitting at home right now saying, oh gosh, I wonder if I'll get, if they'll come after me or whatever. Come on, right? Well, I mean, we get out there and cure and help us, right? So, I mean, I'm making a pretty blunt example about it, but if that type of person hid their gifts or was too afraid to go out there and share their gifts, right, we wouldn't have their gifts. So that's a part of it. The other part of it is learn acting. I'm starting a new program in a couple months called Acting Stern, which is going to be an acting school for business people, where I teach business people how to become better actors, right? Because this world is theater. We're on camera, right? This is theater. So if we're not looking to theater, then why aren't we doing that? Podcasters should be listening to more radio shows. Why? That's broadcasting. That's where the radio play started, was on the radio back in the 1930s, 1940s, right? Like there's examples of things before us that we can use to then nurture our talents today and all that kind of stuff. But as for the, maybe someone shouldn't, or maybe someone all those kind of things, everything that someone says is a reflection upon themselves. And I'm not going to get religious. I'm not a religious person, but everything is a mirror of their own thing. Love thy enemies, right? Even pity thy enemies. Not really pity, but you know what I'm saying? When someone is jealous of you, it's a reflection of them. It's not a reflection on you, right? It's a reflection of them and their struggle that they can't get past whatever's in their life. So they don't know how to express it in any other way than bullying you. So bullies need to be flipped around and said, hey, well, what do you like to do? Maybe we need to give you more space to explore and have your voice be heard. I don't know, but there you go. I just went into all kinds of philosophies there. There you go.
Yeah, no, but it all interlinks. It's, we can't approach just the one side of it. You have to approach the holistic person, right? So you have to look at the physical, the mental, the spiritual. When you approach them to talk about, like you do, Darrell, to extract what is essentially them, what is authentically them, because it's when we show up authentically as ourselves, then the world welcomes us. I mean, and when people say, oh, who do you think you are? And I think asking yourself, it's like, why not me? Why not now?
Well, they asked me, who do I think I am? I was the voice of Scooter Computer on ABC Schoolhouse Rock. I run the fastest moving digital marketing content video driven agency in the planet. Who are you? So anyway, I'm just kidding. But you know what I'm saying? So here's another part to it that I want to talk to you guys about. Okay, so my father was a philosopher, and Return of the Jedi. I am a Jedi like my father before me. I am a philosopher like my father before me. What we're doing in marketing, right, is matching up what we can solve and what questions we can answer with the user who is searching. And you know this if you ever watched the Marvel movie Doctor Strange, right, where the Time Witch Queen says, it's not about you, right? And she tells the doctor, in Doctor Strange, it's not about you. Everything you do is for them, for those people that are searching for you. So here's the practical tip to that. The title of your YouTube the title of your YouTube video is the question they're typing in, not the way you would say it or the way I would say it. Like I would write, how can I do this? Whereas lots of people title their videos, how can you do this? Because they see it from the world of I'm speaking to you. But if I'm searching, I want to do it. Just flipping a word over from I to you can change the results from flat to viral, because you're finally understanding that it's all about how they're searching for you and matching up your talents and your gifts with how they are asking for you out in the world.
No, absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Incredible. You know, and again,
go ahead, Hugh.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it boils down to a large extent then, you know, what we do with the NLP fraternity, you know, and how we speak to ourselves, how we talk to ourselves, our own internal dialogue, you know. So, and then I can see, Darrell, the correlation between, you know, when you talked about bringing the story out of the people just forget how their story is unique to them. It's very deep inside, and listening to how you bring that out of them is just, you know, it just unlocks a vault of wealth of knowledge that can, I have to put it in this language, monetized if it's channeled then in the right direction. And that's what you do perfectly well by the sounds of things.
Well, storytelling is one of the ancient ways that we communicated. Before literacy, before we could write, before we had a written language, we communicated through story. And the story of anything from Jesus Christ, the Grimm's fairy tales, to the Trojans, to the Spartans, to the ancient Greek tragedies, to Shakespeare, you know, to all of this, story is how we move our culture forward. It's how we move our morality forward. It's how we move everything forward, is through crafting a story. And the ancient Greeks called it a morality play, right? The Grimm's fairy tales called it a fairy tale. Star Wars calls it Star Wars, right? Which borrows a lot from those kind of things. And there's even some linguistic things that I work with people on too, when everyone says the word basically. I don't know if this is so big in the UK, but right now it's the new Valley Girl world. Back in the 80s, we used to say, well, like, you know, we're going to the Galleria, you know, in California. Today, everyone's saying basically. If you ask anybody about their business, at least in America, they'll say, well, basically it's this. Well, basically it's that. There's nothing basic about you. Stop saying that word, right? Stop saying the word, you know. As we speak, we go, so I was walking down the street, you know? And my father used to slam his hand down on the table and say, no, I don't know, right? You're telling me right now, how could I know? So when we look at that and we really concentrate and focus on our speech, when I speak on camera or when I'm doing a YouTube video, I'm like in a hyper mode. You know, I do my scrunchy face and my stretchy face, you know, my actor, you know, kind of exercises, and I'm hyper aware of this instrument, and I'm articulating every single word. I'm pausing and I'm slowing down. And that's a skill that I love to teach as well. I can put up all the Facebook posts, you know what I mean, in the world. I can write all the blogs and put up videos. But if the performance in it, if the language in it isn't performed in a way that moves people emotionally, it's not going to work. What do you say, Christopher? Hugh is just, you know, hogging the thing. I'm going to teach you how to be brave, how to be bigger here, step up and be more of the host here, because Hugh's just taking the stage. And, you know, Hugh, just settle down. Give Christopher a chance. I'm just kidding.
Okay. I'm going to get my moment to shine in about 15 minutes, so I'm not concerned
You're
at all.
prepping?
So but cool. It'll be cool. If you're listening to my talk, I'll be following up on a lot of the things you said. So it's great. So right now we got Les Brown coming up, and we have to thank Darrell for his really wonderful contribution, and what he does for the world and helping people bring their stories to the world is tremendous. So thank you, Darrell, and we hope to see you soon again.